In this video, we'll introduce you to built-in functions in Python. Now, what exactly are functions? Functions you can think of as reusable bits of code. And this can be code to perform a calculation, a useful action, anything. For example, you could have a function to add two numbers, for instance, using the addition operations that we've seen earlier. Now, a good question to ask here would be, where do these reusable bits of code come from? Now, you, of course, can define your own function to perform your own custom action, but that's a little advanced and will come later along as you study Python. Before that, you should know that there are a number of built-in functions available in Python for you to use. And for this demo, we'll focus on these built-in functions. If you were to type in a string using double quotes into your code cell here on this Jupyter notebook, the Jupyter notebook will simply write out this string in your result. This is the default action of the Jupyter notebook where it simply echoes what you've typed in when it's a number or a string. If you're not working within Jupyter notebooks or you want to explicitly within a larger unit of code ask Python to print something to screen, you will use the print function as you see here. Let's observe a bunch of details here. The name of the function is print and it's followed by brackets. This is how you know that it's a function. A function has a name and it's invoked using brackets. Now, what we are passing in here, the string hello Oliver, is an input argument or an input parameter to the function. The input parameter is what the function needs, information that the function needs to perform its job. Developers of the Python programming language have already written the code to print the information that you pass into the function out to screen. You are just invoking the print function and using their code. So when we invoke the print function in this manner, it prints out to screen, hello Oliver. Strings can be defined using double quotes in Python or single quotes. So you can invoke the print function and pass in hello Oliver in single quotes as well, and the same hello Oliver will be printed out to screen. Observe that in both cases, when the print function printed out the string to screen, the quotes for the string were not included. Python only printed out the contents of the string, the contents of what we passed into the print function. Now, you can't work with strings without the quotes. Let's say I were to invoke the print function and pass in hello Oliver without the enclosing single or double quotes. This is an error and Python will tell me that this is invalid syntax. Syntax basically refers to the structure of commands that Python understands. Python does not understand what you're trying to do because hello Oliver is not in quotes. It doesn't know what it means. It considers it invalid. Let's say you try and invoke print without the brackets but with only the double quotes. And in Python 3, this is an error. Programmers who are new to Python but might have encountered Python 2 earlier will find this a little confusing because print with just the quotes worked in Python 2. That was a print command or a print statement, which is different from a print function. You don't need to worry about those details. We are working with Python 3. Always use the brackets, the print function to print stuff out to screen. Now that we've understood the print function, we can move on to another built-in function in Python, the len function. The name of the function is len. It's invoked using brackets and the input argument that we pass into the len function is hello Oliver, the string. When you pass in a string to a len function, the len function simply counts the number of characters in that string, and in our case, the number of characters is equal to 13. Observe that the code that was executed by the len function is different from the code executed for the print function. The len function calculates the length of what you pass in. The print function prints out what you pass into screen. We'll now use the print function in a slightly different way. Print 5 plus 4. What does Python do? Python will first calculate the result here. 5 plus 4, Python knows is 9, and it will pass in 9 to the print function. The print function will receive the calculated result, that is 9, and will print 9 out to screen. And this you'll see is true even for more complex calculations. Let's say you call print and within the print brackets you specify a complex calculation. The result of that calculation will be calculated first. That result is passed into the print function and the print function will simply print the result out to screen. Python offers a whole number of such useful built-in functions, such as the ABS function here, which calculates the absolute value of a number. The absolute value of 17 is 17. Let's use ABS once again with minus 17. The absolute value of minus 17 is 17. Just like with the print function, you can pass in the result of a computation to the absolute function as well. So Python will first compute 4.5 minus 2 multiplied by 4 plus 7. The brackets will be evaluated first. Once the result of this entire computation has been calculated, that result is passed into the absolute function, and the absolute function will calculate the absolute value of that result, which in this case happens to be 17.5. The computed value of the result was minus 17.5. The absolute value of minus 17.5 is 17.5. Another built-in function that Python has is the type function. All of these values that you're working with, we spoke about them as integers and floating points. The type function gives us the data type for a value. Here you can see that 17.5 is of type float. Let's check out the type of just 17 without the point. You can see that it's of type int, which is a short form for integer. Let's check out the type of anything in quotes. Hello James in quotes is of type string. str is its short form. Let me point something out to you here, and this is something you can try out on your own. Anything that you specify in quotes is of type string. Even if you pass a numeric value, whether it's an integer or a floating point in quotes, it is considered to be of type string. And this is something you can try out and see what result Python gives you. Let's move on. Let's use the round built-in function, which rounds off a number to the nearest integer. Round on 17.7 gives you 18. If you remember the basic round operation from mathematics, it will always round off to the nearest integer. So round on minus 17.5 will give you minus 18. That is the nearest integer. Round on minus 17.4 will give you minus 17. All of these functions work as you would expect them. Python supports many built-in functions, and an entire list is available here at this URL. Let's move on to exploring another useful built-in function called max, which, as its name suggests, gives you the maximum value from a list of numbers that you can pass in. Now, these can be any numeric values, integers or floating points, and notice that we can pass in any number of input arguments to the max function. All of the functions that we saw earlier took in just one input argument in our example. Max finds the largest value amongst all of these numbers you've passed in. The largest value here is 23. Just like the max function here, we also have the min function that takes in a list of numbers. It can take any number of input arguments. The minimum value here in this list is the number 5, and that is what the min function returns.